Good afternoon. Spencer Phillips here, co-founder of Passions. It was 3 years ago that I got a phone call to say that Saul Davies was going to give me a call. And little did I know that those 3 years subsequently would be filled with projects and a whole raft of fun. We worked on music feeds and Everybody Belongs Here together, which raised £1 million for food poverty and for those in the entertainment industry who had no work during the pandemic. And since then, we've worked on numerous projects together. I've seen the band play round the world and had a lot of fun. He's a great guy. He's doing an awful lot for the world when it needs help. And he's a friend. But there is one thing. I'm still waiting for the call to play in the band, mate. Ring me.
Hello and a very warm welcome to another edition of Passions. And I'm absolutely delighted to be welcoming back Saul Davies from James. And Saul's going to be talking to me today about the latest initiative, which is all to do with a gig that he's doing at the end of February 2024. So without further ado, Saul, very warm welcome back to the Passions Project. Tell us who you are and what the project is.
I'm Saul Davies from James. A little known popular beat combo, an unloved animal sat asleep in the corner that occasionally rises its head and bats off a fly or two. No, we're brilliant, James. We're amazing. We're a great band full of wonderful musicians with great songs, and we've defied the laws of physics, and we're actually about to enter our 41st year as a band, which is pretty mad. Anyway,
amazing.
So yeah, and along with, you will know that we did our Music Feeds event in January 2021, which is an online event. We raised £1 million with the help of the co-op for some food bank initiatives and help some musicians and people. That was great that we were able to do that. It was hard work, but we got there in the end. And because we've got failing memories and we forgot how it almost gave us mental illness to do it, we decided to do something else. Which is a physical event. So not an online event, but a physical event at Manchester Apollo on the 27th of February. So Vando, who's on the other side of this computer screen, and I decided that we would do this. And tickets are going on sale, and we've managed to, we're working with Cuff and Taylor, who are a Northwest-based promoter. You know, obviously, they do a lot of great work, a lot of great shows that they put on. We've had the privilege of working with them last year. I did a couple of shows for them at Halifax at Peace Hall. Got some shows coming up with them next summer. And so they've lent their voice and their machinery to getting this show out there, promoted, ticketed, all the rest of it. And it's simple, really. It's just a bunch of bands playing for 20 minutes each or 25 minutes in the case of my band, or The Farm. And doing with an orchestra. Joe Dodell is bringing the orchestra that my band has used in the last year. We did a beautiful tour with those guys, and Joe's bringing that along. And so 3 of us from my band, those 3 half-wits actually that are on the screen behind me at this very moment in time, Jimmy, myself and Tim, are going to do a few songs with the orchestra. So it's at O2 Apollo Manchester, what I know as Manchester Apollo. And yeah, it'll be great. Doors are going to open at 6 o'clock. It'll go through to about 9:45. First band on will be about 6:45. And we've got a load of new and emerging artists to come and play. And then some bands who people will know, like Chicane, Lanterns on the Lake, who won a Mercury Music Prize a couple of years ago for Album of the Year. Slow Readers Club, who are obviously much loved in the Northwest, well, across the UK, but very much in the Northwest, and are a favourite of mine and Jimmy's. My own band, as I say, The Farm, which will be amazing to do a show again. We last did a show, I think, with the Farm in the early 90s, so it's amazing to be on the stage with them again. And then Simon Armitage, who is the poet laureate, he has a musical project called LYR, which I don't know what it stands for. We could run a little competition, couldn't we, to see what does LY and here's my guess: Little Yellow Rabbit. That's mine.
Really? Okay. Well, I'll go for that. If that's
Live Yeti Round. I've no idea. Anyway, I'm going to ask Simon.
I prefer
Simon,
little
hell?
yellow rabbit. Actually,
Little. I'm going
I
to
prefer that.
No pun intended. Prefer. Oh, you see what you did there?
Oh yeah.
Little Yellow
Listen, I'm on
Rabbit.
all week,
Jeez.
so I'm on all week. I'm on all week.
And then we've got some amazing presenters. And then there's some great new. So Liam Frost is going to join us as well. Obviously, much vaunted Manchester musician. One or two artists from London. Tom A. Smith from up in the northwest, where Lanterns are from as well. So it's going to be a great event, I think.
Haven't you got Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher doing an introduction as well?
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah, they're doing.
Yeah, they're pretty well known in these parts. You do know that, don't you?
There's a couple of old footballers who are doing some chat. Yeah, no. So along with Chris Hawkins, who's a brilliant voice on Six Music, BBC Six Music. So between Chris and those two footballing halfwits, legends, that will be our team. And people will come in, and it's 45 quid for a ticket. The absolute majority of those, the income, we've got some costs. We've got to pay for the venue, for example, etc., etc. But beyond those costs, we will be able to give, I think, a good chunk to the Trussell Trust, who we're going to benefit in this event.
Can I just quickly ask you, not to wanting to do a Debbie Downer on it, but since the last time you did the last event, has it got with poverty and food poverty, and is it as bad as ever? Has it got any better, or would that just be dreaming?
I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things. What I plan to do is galvanize my industry around doing things that I think are good things to do. And I don't claim to be an expert on these matters. I spend, when I'm in the UK, like anybody else, I'm traveling around. I spent some time recently in Manchester, or whether I'm up in my home in the northwest coast of Scotland or wherever I am traveling around. You can't fail, but it's just anecdotal, isn't it? And anecdotally, we see that, and logic would dictate that people are in more difficulty. We've all felt it. We've all got less money. A disposable income is difficult to find, and there are lots of political, perhaps, reasons, quite challenging reasons why people are in the difficulty that they're in. But our initiative is not designed to take on. We're not a political organization.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I also regret that we're not a political organization, because I would like us to be, but I also know that we cannot be. We have to maintain, I think, some neutrality so that we can try at least to bring in some people who will also help and donate. So corporate entities or corporations, businesses, they're not likely to ally themselves to hardcore political truths. And so that's a difficulty. And but events like this, I would say, have the potential to even perhaps momentarily, and then we wouldn't know what the effect of it would be long term, but certainly momentarily we might have the opportunity to slightly change the dial a little bit. I mean, the
Yeah.
politics of it are obvious. There's a very, very few, tiny number of people who have basically everything, and then a lot of people who have something, and then there's quite a growing number of people who have absolutely nothing, and those people are vulnerable. I would say that those of us who have the means to show some solidarity and do something about it, then we should do it. I'm not a Christian, right? I wasn't brought up in a Christian household, but we live in a very mixed faith country. But I would say that the things that are the central pillars of those faiths, they're all the same. Be good to people, be cool with people, be fair to people, yeah. Don't mess people about, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Be nice to your goat, all of that, right?
Yeah.
That's charity, isn't it? It's human kindness, right? So I'm not a Christian, but I think, is it a surprise that so many C of E, so many churches run food banks? No, it's not. Why? Because it's a kind of form of charity, isn't it? And they would feel obliged to do it. So from a different standpoint, which is a non-Christian standpoint, I feel obliged to do something.
Well, it's absolutely to your credit that you make the effort. And I was saying, actually, funnily enough, to Spencer, who we both know, it just seems to me that if the income into a house is over a certain amount, and I don't know what that figure is, it just seems to be not unreasonable to expect people just to make that bit of effort to give something so that somebody's not starving in the 2023, 24. And I'm as guilty of that myself.
I think, well, this is where the politics of it come, and this is where the social politics of it come, and you get into very dangerous waters very quickly. But what sounds like a lot of money these days is a lot of money to a lot of people. But people are getting absolutely knackered. The only people who are absolutely immune from having quite a lot taken away from them are the super rich. Yeah. And we live in a high tax economy. We need to, because we need to get money to be able to pay for the things that we need. My problem with it all is not that we pay reasonably high. Compared to some other European countries and other countries around the world, we don't pay very high tax, but we do pay reasonably high tax, I would say, on the scale of things. It's just the inefficiency with which those tax monies are then used, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes.
So we're the people who have their hands on the purse strings are not being honourable to the fact that people worked themselves to the bone to generate tax money that they would quite happily pump into the economy so that good things can then happen, whether it's hospitals or roads or schools or whatever it might be. Yeah. Facilities for our kids and youth stuff and all the rest of it. And they're just not, I mean, this is the politics of it all, right? It's being missed. We might say it's being mismanaged.
Yeah.
External pressures, made up pressures where people just decide, oh, I'll tell you what, here's our window of opportunity. Let's bang all our prices up. Guess what? They bang all your prices up. Inflation goes up. Inflation goes up. Suddenly people are on the street because they can't afford to pay their mortgages. How does that work?
Yeah, we've all seen it. We've all seen it. Profiteering. We've all seen it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And greedflation, as economists are calling it, is a problem. And again, well, my community of musicians is full of people who are some of whom are very wealthy, but is generally populated by people who don't make that much money. They're not necessarily wealthy. Just because you see people standing on a stage doing a tour, it doesn't mean that they're all conqueringly rich. It doesn't. And I know that might seem, people might not believe that, but it's true.
No, I'm sure that is true. I'm sure that it's very similar in going off tangent slightly, but it's very similar in the world of what you might call entrepreneurship. You know, the entrepreneur is going to be rich with a Ferrari and a huge mansion, whereas the entrepreneur is also the small business with maybe 2 staff at, you know, back streets of Manchester. And so there is massive assumptions made. That's for sure.
And just going back to your point about people who honor good income, you know, a couple, 2 teachers or whatever, they're in trouble now in our country.
Yeah.
That's shameful.
Yeah.
So imagine how it is below that.
Yeah.
And this is a minefield, right? It's a minefield.
Of course,
all
it
of
is.
it. And I, you know, and the main thing for me is I don't want to see people. I mean, I know we're putting these tickets on sale, and so people are expected to buy a ticket and come along and all the rest of it. I'd quite like it if a massive corporation bought all the tickets and said, "Tell you what, we're going to give them out to everybody." That's what I would like to see. I don't really want to see people putting their hands in their pockets and paying 45 quid to come and see this on the basis that they feel obliged to support the cause. I think it's for the corporate world to support this cause. I think it's for the supermarkets, for example, who have hiked prices over the last 18 months, under the cloak of all sorts of stuff. And if we had a CEO of Tesco's on here or lots of other supermarkets may apply for this position, right, of having let us down, we all know that their profits are going up and up and up and up and up. And they are not. And I think we're being let down by our institutions. Some of our commercial institutions who exist only because we buy in them. We go into their doors and buy from them. And some of our political institutions that no longer represent the needs, nor the majority, I would say, of people in the UK.
Maybe one day we won't need concerts like this, and that's probably a silly dream. But
well, we shouldn't need. I mean, I agree.
No,
we shouldn't need to do this. I mean, we should be able to do gigs like this that were free, paid for by the corporate world, let's say, just to celebrate the fact that everybody's cool. But we're miles away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all I can say is very much looking forward to the concert. I'm sure I'll be heading there myself. Saul, thanks very much for joining me today, and all the very, very best with the gig. And I hope it obviously goes as well as I'm sure it will. Thank you for sharing that today with us.
Not at all. Massive pleasure, Phil, as always.